Hello, welcome. My name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm really glad you're here because I read the second book in the Edge of Collapse series by Kyla Stone. This one is called Edge of Madness. There are two videos prior to this that I've uploaded, one that covers the prequel and one that covers the first book. The links are below. Now, I mentioned in those earlier videos that the first three books all begin at the same time, either just as or just before the EMP blast. This time we're going to find out what Noah and Milo have been doing since everything fell apart. I promise we'll get back to Hannah and Liam and Ghost, but not in this book. Okay, trigger warnings. Gun violence, threats of SA, drug use, drug abuse, child abuse, beatings, killings, death, including children. And of course, sadistic characters willing to do awful things. Keeping that in mind, if you're interested in hearing the whole story, join me for the ride. So this book begins with a police call that a body has been found. Probably a homeless person, no ID. Noah, who's a police officer in Falls Creek, reads the message, but it's his day off, and he always takes December 24th off. Because 5 years ago, on this day, his wife drove off in the night and was never seen again. All that was found was her abandoned car on the highway. So on Christmas Eve Day every year, Noah takes his son Milo to the ski range that's about an hour from their house for a day on the slopes. Milo loves skiing, and the two have done it every year for the past 4 years. Milo is far more adventurous than his father. He gets it from his mom. Noah is actually pretty terrified of heights, but never lets that get in the way of parenting. Milo is the most important thing in Noah's life by far. Milo is his motivation for everything. It might sound familiar because Milo is sort of the motivation for Hannah as well. So they've been on the slopes for a while, and he tells Milo that they need to start heading home, but Milo isn't ready yet. Typical kid, right? He's, just to remind you, he's now 8. So Noah makes him a deal. They can ride the chairlift to the highest hill. Milo loves ski lifts. Noah, on the other hand, is afraid of heights and would like to do almost anything but ride a ski lift, but again, it's for Milo, so he'll do it. He tells him, we're not going to ski. We're just going to ride the lift up, and then we're going to ride the lift down, and then we're going to be done for the day. But he also promises hot chocolate and peanut butter chips for the ride home. And the two head off to the lift. They get behind a young couple, an older teen boy and girl. Behind them, there is another teen girl with bright blue hair and an older man, probably her grandfather. At about 40 feet up, there's a lurch on the lift. Then it gets moving again, but it doesn't pick up any more people. It's like they're trying to make sure that it's okay to put people on it again. When they're about halfway up the ski lift, it stops completely. Noah takes out his phone to check the time, but his phone is dead. Completely dead. And it shouldn't be. From behind, they hear a very, very loud crash. They turn to look and see that a snowmobile has crashed into the ski lodge. People start yelling to call 911. Noah tells Milo not to worry, but then they see a helicopter that is not flying correctly. In fact, it's not flying at all. It is falling out of the sky. It crashes onto the ski lodge, and thick black smoke pours into the sky. The lodge is now on fire. In the ski lift behind Noah and Milo is Quinn and her grandfather. Quinn is 16 years old. She has, like I said before, bright blue hair. She has on a snowboard while her Gramps, as she calls him, is on skis. Quinn is an avid reader of sci-fi, and the fact that the phones aren't working and the helicopter fell out of the sky makes her think that the bad thing that happened was an EMP blast. She tries not to worry her Gramps. The people on the three ski lifts begin to converse, what they think might have happened, how long they might have to wait. They introduce themselves, of course. Noah tells them his name and that he's a cop, and he introduces Milo. Quinn introduces herself, and her Gramps tells him that he is Dr. Duong. The couple ahead of Noah and Milo tell them that their names are Phoebe and Brock. They all begin to worry about being stuck on the lift. That, and it's cold. really, really cold. Now, Noah calms everyone down by saying there are safety procedures and precautions that will get them to safety, that they have to be patient and just wait their turn. But Noah starts to worry about Milo. About a month after Milo began kindergarten, so about 3 years ago, he began complaining about stomach aches and was tired and had no appetite. Very strange for a kid in kindergarten. After the typical stomach flu got way worse, Noah rushed his son to the ER. After a battery of tests, he was diagnosed with Addison's disease. Basically, Milo's adrenal glands don't make enough cortisol on their own. And because cortisol regulates the stress response, Milo would need lifelong treatment. But as long as Milo was able to stay away from extreme physical stress, he should be okay. But overstress could lead to kidney failure, shock, and death. Milo takes hydrocortisone pills 3 times a day to manage the disease. Due to this, Noah always has rescue meds, electrolyte drinks, snacks high in salt and sugar. It's one of those situations that in our modern society, it's really not a big deal. You can understand when Noah asks his son how he is, and the answer he usually gets is, "Oh, I'm fine, Dad," with a full annoyance and at the question, and he's rolling his eyes. But that's only because the medicine is readily available. You can see where I'm going with this, right? So they've been up there a while. Brock starts talking about how he's going to jump. Noah tells him not to. The distance is too far. It's about 30 feet. He convinces everyone to be patient, but eventually even Noah has to admit they seem to be forgotten. Gramps isn't feeling well. Snow has started to fall, and they can't see the lodge or the fire anymore. He starts to tell his granddaughter that his shoulder and arm hurt. His heart is beating too fast. He's dizzy. And oh no, Quinn thinks, Gramps had a heart attack not too long ago, and the doctors gave him a pacemaker. Now it's hard for him to breathe. Noah tries to check on him and gets snark and snide reactions from Quinn because she's terrified for her Gramps. Gramps says to Quinn, "I'm just going to take a little nap and dream of tropical islands." And Quinn yells that he will do no such thing. He tells her that he loves her and that she should always remember that. And then he slumps. When Quinn tells Noah exactly what she sees, that his lips are blue, his face is gray, and she can't tell if he's breathing, then she admits that she's pretty sure he just had another heart attack. Meanwhile, Milo knows the blue-haired girl and her Gramps. They live down the street from Milo and his dad. He's seen her on her bike and has seen her grandparents in the yard. These are not strangers to them. Someone has to do something, so Brock announces he's going to jump. But Noah tells him it's over 30 feet. If he jumped, he probably wouldn't be able to go get help. Well, maybe if he fell correctly, if he rolled right and relaxed enough, maybe. Then he assesses the poles. Each is outfitted with a ladder, but the only way to get to them is the wire their lift is hanging off of, and that doesn't seem like much of an option either. Mid-thought, Brock says he's going to jump. There's no talking him out of it, so Noah takes out a tactical flashlight. He always has on him. Remember, he's a cop. And he works in the middle of nowhere, so a tactical flashlight can sometimes be more useful than a gun. He puts the beam on Brock to give him light. First, he unclips his snowboard, and they all watch it fall to the ground. Yep, that's about 30 feet. Noah tells Brock to go loose, to try not to tense, and to roll into his landing. Then Brock gets himself to be hanging off the bottom of the ski lift. He's now about 25 feet above the ground. Brock and Phoebe profess their love to each other. Quinn groans, and he lets go. A scream unlike any Milo has ever heard before escapes Brock's mouth. Finally, the scream turns into words, "My leg, my leg." His reports through sobs that he can feel the bone of his leg sticking out of his leg. And Noah tries not to panic, but he's panicking. There's some yelling in between the teen girls, and then Noah takes over again, telling Brock to calm down and breathe. Try to elevate the injured leg by using the good leg to push snow underneath, but Brock is just screaming about how much it hurts. Then he starts to take his jacket off and talking about burning up. This is shock and hypothermia working against Brock. Noah yells that he has to put his coat back on, but Brock starts to fall limp, saying that he's tired. Noah and Phoebe both yell at him to stay awake, but he doesn't seem to be able. Only one option remains. And even though Noah is deathly afraid of heights, he's going to do it. He's got to do it. For Milo. Anything for Milo. So he climbs up to the cable above the ski lift and starts hand over hand inching his way towards Quinn's chair. Just beyond is the pole with the ladder. It is excruciatingly hard, but he makes it to Quinn's chair and then rests there for a few minutes. When he gets back up onto the cable, Quinn climbs up behind him, declaring that she is not sitting there for one more moment. The two make it to the pole and down the ladder. Once there, Quinn points out a border fencing along the side of the mountain, denoting where not to ski. It has a lot of give so that it will withstand the high winds on the mountains. They pull part of it up and use it as a makeshift net. Milo's easy to catch. Phoebe is not quite as easy, but they both make it down to safety. Noah promises to come back and get Gramps and Brock at a later date, but right now they have to get themselves to safety because the snow is falling really heavily now, and the wind is blowing, and they can't see much of anything in front of them, and there's no light to guide them. They're literally in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the dark, in the middle of a snowstorm. But down is definitely the right direction, that's for sure. When the lodge is finally in sight, they see that it is mostly burned to the ground. There's no movement of people anywhere. They were completely abandoned. They continue to the parking lot, so strangely devoid of humans, but all the cars were there. Quinn explains that if it was an EMP blast, that the cars aren't working due to the computer electronics now in most models. They wonder how the people managed to leave, but Noah starts to look around to see if he can find a car that might still be working, when the sound of an engine roaring to life shocks them. A truck pulls up next to them. Quinn opens the door and says, "Get in, 'cause I'm leaving." They can drop Phoebe off at home. It's close to Falls Creek. The three of them are going back, and the three of them are all going back to the same street. Quinn introduces them to the 1978 Ford F-150 Super Cab she calls Orange Julius. When it's not a blizzard, you can see the bright orange color it's painted. Four-wheel drive, snow tires, nothing will slow it down. Quinn's grandparents take care of their stuff. And they take the idea of being prepared very seriously, which is helpful because it doesn't take long for them to get stuck in a snowbank. But Quinn's grandparents have sleeping bags, flares, a flashlight, toolbox, shovels, trail mix, water, and a battery-operated lantern in their car. Oh, and of course, kitty litter. So they get unstuck pretty quickly. For those of you who don't know, kitty litter can be used if you pour it under your, under the tires. It can be used to like grab when you're stuck in the snow and it's not grabbing because it's snow. So kitty litter is something that a lot of people who drive around in the snow carry in their cars. So they do get unstuck pretty quickly. And then all of a sudden they see a man sitting in the driver's seat in a car, shivering with his hands on the steering wheel as if the car is going to somehow start any moment. He sees them, gets out of the car, and says, where did you come from? They realize he's an employee of the ski resort, and Quinn is the first to yell at him. "You left us up there, and my grandfather died." At first, the man won't believe it. He says they got everyone down. They had to use hand cranks, and it took forever. They had to do each person at their own time, but they checked everyone. Noah yells, "Well, you missed at least one." The man tells them he is so sorry. He didn't know. He doesn't understand how this happened. He can't believe it. They've lost 19 people. 19 people are dead. The neighborhood sent a school bus that was still working and picked up all the people, and somehow this guy got left behind. They agree to take him home. He lives pretty close to Phoebe. And after they're both dropped off, Milo is curled up and sleeping on the sleeping bag in the back of the cab. And Quinn tells Noah, "I know who you are." Then she explains. Today's her birthday. That's why they were skiing today. And she will always remember that Hannah, Noah's wife, went missing on December 24th, 5 years ago. She tells him that Hannah used to wave at her when she was out on her jogs. She used to run every day. And whenever Hannah was sitting in the front window of her grandparents' house reading, Hannah would stop and wave. Every time. And how sometimes she would sing aloud with her headphones on, and what a beautiful voice she had. She describes what she looked like, how she wore band t-shirts. She told him that Maybe the timing was why it hit her so hard when Hannah went missing. She's clear that she knows it was nowhere near as hard for him and Milo, but that it hit her. She wants him to know that she followed the story even when they thought it was him. Officials always look to the spouse or romantic partner first. That was a terrible time for Noah. Just terrible, but he kept focused on Milo. Quinn concludes with telling Noah that she understands what today is for him and that she's sorry. It's very sweet for such an angry, angsty teen. Noah is grateful for Quinn's kind words. When Noah was the lead suspect in Hannah's case, the town superintendent, Rosamond Sinclair, had been steadfast in her support of Noah, which was very helpful. It didn't take long for Chief Briggs, the police officer, also on his side, and eventually the rumors died down. He had Rosamond's support because Julian Sinclair was his best friend since childhood. If you remember, Julian Sinclair is the little brother of Gavin Pike. Pike? The next morning, when Milo wakes up, he tells his father that the electricity is still out. They had slept next to each other with the couch cushions stacked up around them to use, and all the blankets in the house used to try to consider, keep warm and not shiver. But Noah says that he wakes up totally stiff and shivered all night. Milo reports that his fingers and toes hurt, but that makes sense. I mean, they were in the cold yesterday for a very long time, and pain is actually a good sign. The tip of his nose has some frost nip, but no frost bite, so Noah exhales. It's Christmas morning, so Noah makes Milo his favorite, pancakes with peanut butter and whipped cream. He has to go into the basement to find the camping travel grill, but everything in the fridge is still good because of how cold it is in the house. As Milo eats, Noah worries and plans. He will need to find a way to seal up the windows. The hardware store will have something for that. And he'll need to make more wood to burn. He tries not to let his worry show, knowing that stress is the worst thing for Milo's Addison's disease. Milo asks if they can open presents, but Noah is one of the police officers in town and he knows they need his help. He tells Milo that they need to go see Mrs. Gomez and ask if she can watch Milo for a few hours. Milo says he understands and asks if they can check on Quinn as well. Noah agrees. They go over and knock on the door, but nobody answers. They decide they need to check on her. And Noah tells Milo to wait in the doorway. He finds Mrs. Gomez in her bed. Cold. Her oxygen tank is next to the bed, and he realizes what happened. Milo yells to him from downstairs, and he goes to meet him. Milo says somebody is outside. It's Uncle Julian. You know how kids call their parents, friends, aunt, and uncle? That's the situation with Julian. Julian is also a police officer at Falls Creek. Milo asks about Mrs. Gomez, and Noah says, she must be out. A friend must have picked her up, and not to worry about it. Of course, he doesn't want to worry Milo. The three of them get into the old snowmobile Julian drove over on. It's a two-seater, and Milo fits in between them. Rosamond, Julian's mom, loves Milo. He's the closest thing she has to a grandson since her two sons have never given her any grandchildren. When they get to town, they find that some places have generators that still work. The courthouse, the inn, the pharmacy, and Friendly's grocery store. It's nice to walk inside and feel warm again. They head over to the impromptu community meeting. Rosamond is leading the discussion. Okay, so I'm going to give you an overview of Falls Creek. Small town, northern Michigan, but you knew that part. Anyway, okay, so around the beginning of the new millennium, an investor came to Falls Creek and fell in love with the rolling hills, the lush green, the lovely rivers and lakes in the area. He purchased 500 acres on one side of Falls Creek and built a planned neighborhood called Winter Haven. And it was created to be self-sufficient. It has its own power grid, solar, its own water and sewer systems, and backup generators if ever the solar power supply is not enough. And not only that, but all the electronics are encased in a Faraday case, something that keeps electronics from being fried during an EMP blast. So there is a whole neighborhood of houses with plenty of electricity, heat, and water. The police are still working on the census of the town to figure out who is here and who isn't. Given the time of year, a large portion of the population was on vacation. Of the 51 homes in Winter Haven, 29 are unoccupied. The police chief Briggs is horrified when the community leaders start discussing taking over empty houses and requisitioning motor vehicles that are working for the police to use. He yells at everyone that this has only been 2 days. We don't need to start talking about dismantling the Constitution. Rosamond tells him to stop being dramatic. that the people who aren't here will understand we used their homes. We will leave them in either the same condition or better when we return them, but right now we need to keep people alive. Julian tells the group that the snowmobile he's using is the Carter brothers, and the room murmurs. He could not have been okay with that. Julian just shrugged with a smirk and said he was agreeable after a time. Briggs is clearly very unhappy with this turn of events. Rosamond asks Noah if he will talk to Bishop. Bishop is the pastor of the local church, is a very good friend of Noah's since high school. Oddly, Julian and Bishop really never got along. But he talks to her. He says, can you talk to him about consolidating their resources? The church has a pantry for people who need food, right? And the town is setting up the same thing. So Rosamond says if they give us everything, then we could have a much better control and understanding of what we can do. Noah says, I'll talk to him, but he does not promise anything. He doesn't think Bishop is going to be amenable. So, as all of this is happening, Quinn heads to the grocery store with a list from Molly. Molly is her grandmother. She marvels at the fact that there are no food items on the list. There's batteries, pain relievers, a lot of them, antibacterial ointment, a bunch of bottles of hand soap, tubes of toothpaste, feminine hygiene products. Quinn looks up from her cart to see an older Caucasian man in a suit grab the last case of water out from underneath a mother with 3 children hanging around her knees. Quinn could not stay quiet. This is Quinn for you. You don't have to be rude, she says, but the man just looks at her and says, there is no place for politeness anymore. This is the end of the world. The altercation causes more people to get involved, and soon there's a lot of shouting, until a voice comes over a megaphone asking everyone to calm down. The police announce that for everyone's safety, Friendly's will be closing early today. Tomorrow will reopen, and each guest will be allowed to purchase $50 worth of supplies at a time. No more. Make your way to the checkout line right now and purchase only your share. Again, the store is closing. The crowd reacts loudly and angrily to that announcement, and Quinn decides that staying in the store is not a good idea when Milo and Noah are around the corner. Hey, small fry, she says to Milo. That's what she calls Milo. And hello, Noah the cop. That's what she calls Noah. They commiserate about the situation. Noah asks Quinn if she has money for the things in her cart, and she assures him she does. He takes her to the front of the line, gives his and her money to the cashier, saying, this covers everything we're taking. I need to get back to work. The cashier is fine with it, and Noah, Milo, and Quinn leave Friendly's with all the supplies they wanted. They bid each other goodbye, and Quinn heads off to the Orange Julius. But when she gets there, there are 3 older teenage boys standing by the truck. They tell her they admire the truck. She drops her bag and pulls out her slingshot, threatening them to get the hell away from her grandfather's truck. It's one of the Carter boys with a couple of friends. They're a part of the criminal element in Falls Creek. Every town has one. They recognize her as Octavia's daughter. She threatens them again, don't touch my truck. When things start to get loud, a voice comes out of the snowstorm. What's the problem here? It's Noah the cop. They turn their attention to him, telling him that they know where he got his snowmobile. It's theirs. He thanks them for helping the police department, but they aren't thrilled, clearly. Noah tells them either way they are going to get away from Quinn and her truck. Finally, the boys leave. Noah, Quinn, and Milo start chatting. Noah asks Milo for the 100th time that hour if he's okay, only to get the response, Dad, I'm okay. I'm 8 whole years old. Quinn smiles at him and says, 8 whole years old, small fry? And they all laugh. Then Noah complains about how cold it is in their house, and Quinn asks if they have candles in a clay pot, because if they do, they can make a heater out of that. He's amazed and thinks out loud that they need a way to get that information out to the whole community. She tells them about her grandmother, Molly. She has so much information like that Quinn is absolutely sure she'd be willing to share. She invites the 2 of them back to her grandmother's house and tells them that she better like them, because if not, she'll probably put them in the stew. Milo laughs. When they get to Molly's house, everyone is introduced, as well as to her 5 cats. Odin, Loki, Thor, Valkyrie, and Hel, ruler of the underworld. That's truly what they call him. Hell, the ruler of the underworld. Milo is instantly covered in felines. The two grown-ups start talking about survival for the community. Molly tells him about using Clorox to purify water and how it's much better than boiling because firewood should be saved to keep people warm and to cook food. She tells him a 3-quart bottle of 6% sodium hychlorate costs about $2 and will treat nearly 4,800 gallons of clear water. A drop per pint is the recipe. More is needed for unclear water like lake water that should be filtered first. Then she explains how to make an Amish bucket so that people with wells but need electricity to access the water will actually be able to get their water. Then they start talking about food. There's a food pantry at the church, and the community is setting something up at the high school. Friendlies will reopen, but even with all that food, it'll be gone in a few weeks. Gran explains how she grows veggies all winter long and how she does it. Quinn can hunt, and others should learn. They discuss firearms and ammo as well. When they're all done, they're actually all laughing, and Quinn realizes she hasn't done that since Gran died. Quinn. Okay, so Quinn is a hunter. She uses her slingshot, and she hits her mark 9 out of 10 times. She shoots rabbits, squirrels, any other small game that can be easily cooked and eaten. She and her gramps used to spend a lot of time shooting at cans in the backyard, which is how she got so good. Quinn's grandparents own about 5 acres of land, and Quinn has learned a lot about how that land can provide for them. Quinn's grandparents are the kind of people that prepare and know how to sustain themselves without modern-day creature comforts. Quinn lives with her grandparents because her mom, Octavia, is an addict and pretty useless as a mother. Quinn is tough and sarcastic and bold and strong because she has to be. Her mother always puts her fix in front of her daughter. She's got crappy friends that treat Quinn terribly. Quinn knows not to trust her mother, and the main reason she dyes her hair blue is so that she won't look much like her mom. When Noah first recognized Quinn, it was as Octavia's daughter. Octavia, the most beautiful girl in high school with them. But she was always part of the crowd of kids that broke the law by stealing, doing drugs, breaking curfew. She never liked the nice guys. She liked the guys that would be mean to her so that she could be mean back. So when Octavia shows up at her parents' house on the 4th day, Quinn is surprised. She did not expect to see her so soon. She brought Ray with her worthless, criminal, junky boyfriend with her, and they're looking for food. Octavia comes in first alone, but Quinn refuses to give her anything. So Ray bursts in yelling, "Where's the food? If we don't get there soon with something to trade, it'll all be gone, and who knows when we'll get more." Ray kicks at the cats, connecting with one of them. Quinn yells at him. I really like how Stone uses animals to show who people really are. I know I've always trusted it when an animal doesn't like a human. In my experience, they have always been right about that. Quinn tells him to get out, that no one invited him in, and he yells back that she's never to show her face at their house again. Quinn is just fine with that. Hadn't been planning to return anyway. Then Ray grabs her and pulls her by the hair, causing Quinn to retaliate with her nails onto his face. Her mother starts to scream that they should stop, but she doesn't do anything. They continue to scuffle, Ray shoving Quinn, then Quinn getting out of the way of the backhand. She finds herself back up against the knife drawer. She pulls one out, threatening to gut Ray if he touches her or her Gran. Octavia yells some more about just taking some food and leaving, but Ray wants to teach Quinn a lesson, and Quinn promises him he has nothing to teach her when the back door slams open. Gran is standing there in her outside work clothes, her pump-action shotgun secured to her shoulder and pointing directly at Ray. She calmly tells him not to touch her granddaughter. Octavia tries to remind Ray that they have to get there soon or it'll all be gone, and Ray tries to call Gran's bluff. "You're not going to do anything, old lady," but when the sound of the shotgun being racked echoes in the kitchen, Ray's eyes bulge and his bluster wanes. He tells Quinn to remember what he said, don't come home, and then the two leave. Gran doesn't put her shotgun down until the sound of the snowmobile engine is completely gone. Quinn is shaken, but she manages to say, "They're going to be a problem." Gran tells her that Octavia has been a problem since she left the womb. They talk about hiding supplies, but Gran says it's already taken care of. And when Quinn asks for more details, Molly is evasive at best. They talk about staying armed at all times and agree that's the way it should be. Even their neighbors could turn on them if they get hungry enough. Then Molly tells her granddaughter to go to her room and use the paints her grandfather got her for a couple of weeks ago. Quinn's room is covered in murals she's painted. It's both her happy place and her therapy to paint. But she protests. I haven't finished the stew. Molly insists that she wants to try some different herbs to see how they flavor the rabbit. Quinn says, but there's firewood to be chopped. And Molly assures her, that firewood's still going to be there tomorrow. Quinn thanks her grandmother and goes to her room to paint. She tries not to think about Ray and his cold, hateful eyes. He's going to explode at some point. She didn't know when, only that it was coming. Due to everything going on, it takes a few days before Noah can make it over to the church to talk to his friend Bishop. So he's on his way, and he's thinking about the fact that the town never had the money to upgrade their snowplow. So it actually still works, which is amazing. When Noah and Milo get to the church, there's a line outside and snaking around the building. It's too cold to stay outside for too long, but the families waiting are making the best of it, huddling together, hanging on to each other, sharing body heat. Noah and Milo still have plenty of food, but by the look of the line, most people did not. It was only 4 days since the blast, and people were already out of food. When people in the line see Noah, a town police officer, a lot of them start saying things and asking things. They complain that the pharmacy isn't open. They complain that the town isn't doing enough. They ask where his snowmobile that looks like the Carters came from. He tells them that they're doing the best they can and that things are going to reopen within reason. Just be patient. He tells them that the high school is already set up to be a shelter for those who need it. If you don't have heat or a way to make heat, please head to the high school. Noah tried not to think about the 3 people they had already found who did not make it. Then his mind went back to the fact that he was low on Noah's medication, and the pharmacy only had a very small amount. He told himself that he would figure something out before the situation became dire. The pharmacist also told him that prednisone could be used for Milo if it came down to that, so he has sort of a backup plan. Noah pushes his way up to the front of the line. Not getting any food allowed him to do that, and found his friend, the pastor. They catch up. Noah reports that FEMA has his hands full with the cities, and there are reports of thieves looting on the highways, that the state has closed borders and is trying to get supply chains back online. But attention to a place like Falls Creek won't be available for a good long while. Bishop shows Noah their operation, which is pretty impressive. They have at least enough stores for 3 to 4 weeks and enough fuel for that long as well. Their generator's old, and they collected fuel and diesel for years. He gives the credit to his wife, Daphne, who is happily handing out bags to the family in line. Milo reminds his dad about Juniper and Chloe, Bishop's daughters. Noah asks Daphne if Milo can spend some days with the girls, and she is thrilled at the idea. She takes them down to the basement, into the room that's been set up for the girls. The 3 kids are left to play. When Noah and Bishop are back in the sanctuary of the church, Noah brings up consolidation of resources. Bishop doesn't like the idea. This is his ministry for his neighborhood, and he would hate to have no say in where the goods go. When Noah pushes for Bishop to give over his supply, Bishop says, why should I give my supplies to them? Maybe they should give their supplies to us. When he says that he will do his thing, Rosamond can do her thing, and hopefully everyone will get what they need. End of discussion. Molly has sent Quinn to the church with a box of dry and canned goods to donate. When she gets there, the first thing she sees is Ray's truck, which meant that Octavia and Ray were here. Quinn gets out of the Orange Julius just in time to watch Ray and Octavia cut through the line of people. Hey, we're hungry. Get to the back of the line. For Ray to respond with, oh, go F yourself. We're hungry too. Ray pushes the woman in the front of the line over and grabs at her bag. Then Octavia does the same. They look in the bags and start to complain, this isn't enough. This won't last more than a day or 2. You have to give us more. Quinn is so mad and so embarrassed, but more mad, and she storms over to her mother and yells that she isn't owed any of this. None of this is hers, and she has no right to it. Octavia responds by shoving her daughter out of the way and telling her to mind her own business. Daphne steps over to them and calmly explains, this is how much we are giving each family right now. You can return tomorrow if you need more, but this is for today. Ray doesn't like that idea. So what does he do? He takes out his pistol. People scream, some run from the line, some duck. Ray says that he will be taking more bags. Hand them over. Daphne shrinks back but stands her ground. You don't have to do this. Quinn screams to her mother to stop Ray, but she ignores her daughter and shoves her hand into Daphne's face. If you don't hand over the food, I'll tell him to shoot you. Daphne hands over 3 bags each. Ray announces that he will be taking what he wants and no one will stop him, only for a voice to come from behind him. I'm stopping you. And there is Noah, standing with his service pistol pointed at Ray. Ray pointed his gun right back at Noah. Daphne is trying to explain that she wants to help Ray and Octavia, that they can put down their weapons and talk. Noah agrees it hasn't gone too far. Then something dark comes flying from the side and barrels directly into Ray, knocking him over, getting on top of him, and getting his arms behind his back. The gun goes flying. Octavia goes for the gun, and Quinn screams Noah's name. Noah grabs at his taser and hits Octavia, who goes down. Meanwhile, Ray is screaming and yelling to Bishop about how he's a dead man and how he is going to take him out and he'll be sorry and all that. But between Noah and Bishop, they're able to get him subdued. Noah calls in assistance over the radio. Noah and Bishop marvel at Noah's timing. He had just stopped by to say hi to Milo. He could have done that at any time that day. He just happened to be right on time when he was needed. Bishop called it Providence, of course. When backup arrives, they discuss what they're going to do with Ray and Octavia. They don't have a jail or even a holding cell in Falls Creek. They always go to the neighboring town for that. The reports are that there's no room in the jails for anyone from Falls Creek. What are they going to do? Then Noah suggests the old town hall building. Milo just had a field trip there, and he got to see that there are still working cells in the basement. They could use that. Julian suggests that they pick up the Carter brothers too. Noah reminds him that they don't pick people up before they do anything wrong, but Julian says maybe that's not how it should work right now. He tells Noah that they will go see them and see what happens. Noah's pretty sure he shouldn't trust Julian, but he doesn't have time to worry about that right now. Quinn gets introduced to the Bishop family. She tells Bishop that Octavia is her mother and she stole from him and she will make it up to him. Quinn says she doesn't have any money, but she will work, and she can work hard, and she will do whatever she can in whatever capacity she can to cover the costs. They assure her that's not necessary. Then Quinn suggests how they can use the church to set up an indoor garden and gather people who know how to hunt so that they can get some more food coming in. Daphne's impressed and tells Quinn it's clear she is Molly's granddaughter. The kids then find the adults. Milo says hi to Quinn, and she says hi back to him. They banter a bit. It's adorable. Quinn thinks about how she doesn't like kids, but this one's pretty cool. Then Daphne asks if she could watch the kids during the day while Daphne is handling the food line. At first, Quinn says she's not a babysitter, but she finally agrees. The kids are thrilled. Noah pulls Quinn over to explain about Noah's Addison's disease and the medicine schedule. Quinn tells him that she saw his medical bracelet, so she knew there was something, and she promises to take care of it. The next day, after checking on Ray, Octavia, and the four Carter brothers locked up in the cell in the city hall, he made his way to Rosamond, who had asked for a visit. She thanked him for everything he was doing. She reminds him that she loves her Julian, but he isn't as practical and level-headed as Noah. She thinks of him as another son, and Milo as her grandson. Then she worries about her eldest, Pike. He was supposed to meet her for dinner that night. Noah then thinks about how he never really liked Pike, that he tolerated him for Rosamund's sake and just ignored him mostly. He's a quiet guy who remained in the background, so it was mostly easy to ignore him. Still, he was always there, and something about him Noah really didn't like. Rosamund then asks him how he's doing and how Milo is doing. He responds it's cold, but they're okay. They're a bit low on food, but still okay. She tells him that she has a house in Winter Haven for him and Milo to use. At first he balks. I don't want to take someone else's house. But Rosamund assures him that the house's owners are in Aruba, and she is sure that they would be upset to find out nobody used their home when it was needed. Then she mentions Milo's Addison's disease, and Noah agrees. He agrees for Milo. He will do anything and everything he can for his son, even if it means moving into a house that isn't his. She reminds Noah that she needs him and how important he is to her. For this and so much more, Noah gives Rosamund his thanks and loyalty. The next day, Rosamund has the community council at her house for a meeting. She serves appetizers, hot, as well as a full hot dinner to everyone in attendance. And everyone enjoys the heat in her home so much they don't want to leave. Rosamund brings the meeting to an order, and they discuss keeping Falls Creek safe. They don't have enough police personnel to set up roadblocks at all entrances points of Falls Creek, which makes the town pretty much a sitting duck. They need more bodies, more weapons, more ammunition. Rosamond suggests inviting a part of the Michigan militia to their town. They could offer them empty houses in Winter Haven for their trouble. Chief Briggs is the first to object. First, we cannot take other people's homes and give them away. Second, we don't want militia to come in here and take over. We need to take care of our own people, not bring in more that need to be taken care of. She tells them her cousin is a leader in one of the factions and has already said that he and his men were agreeable. There is a ton of debate, then a vote. The motion does not pass. Julian argues with the outcome, but his mother shuts him down. The vote is over. There's nothing that can be done to change that now. And Julian sulks. And now we get the first chapter from the perspective of Octavia. She's in a cell in the basement of the city hall, and she's tweaking. Ray is pacing and yelling and making her headache worse. She's already thrown up twice, and the single cell holding all 6 of them was getting pretty ripe. She didn't care about any of that. She only cared about getting more. When the police had gone to see the Carter brothers, there had been no way for Ray and Octavia to warn them. I mean, there's no cell phones. So they didn't have their stash hidden. Their full arsenal was found and taken by the Falls Creek police, and the 4 brothers had been locked up. Julian and Noah were traveling together back to Winter Haven when Julian made an unscheduled stop at the church. 4 other police joined them. Noah wants to know what's going on. Julian tells him not to worry, just doing what we can to take care of everyone. Julian knocks on the church front doors, and Bishop answers. Julian explains that they have almost 100 kids in the high school that need food, and that they would like the church to donate some to the cause. Bishop says that he's already helping the neighborhood his own way, and he will continue to do that. Julian calmly explains that there have been a lot of break-ins and looting in the neighborhood, and that if the church wants to be protected by the police, they need to give them a reason. Daphne comes into the foyer and asks what's going on. Julian says that they are checking up on everyone and seeing what people might need. Bishop asks them to leave, and Julian asks if he's sure. Bishop says he would be fine accepting the protection, but not the cost to get the protection. And then he'll be fine on his own. Noah tries to stand between these 2 men, his 2 closest friends, but both tell him to think about which side he's on. There are sides already, he asks. Back to Octavia. In the cell, in the cold, she hears something. Wait, not something. Someone is coming. A man with a hood over his face comes down the stairs and tells them he has the key to get them out. But they have to do one thing for him. He has a job for them. It's at the church. The mention of the church sets Ray off again. I'm going to kill Bishop. The strange man says that's what they want. That that man does not just have food. He's got gold. Solid gold bars. And when the end of the world comes, it'll be things like gold that'll make you actually powerful. They agree, and the man hands over the key. Octavia's already having dreams of buying a house for her and Quinn with all the money they're going to get for this gold. But first things first, she needs a fix. The next day, Quinn is playing with the kids at the church. They play all kinds of games all day long. Quinn had thought she hated kids, but it turns out they're not so bad. Though she was tired, Noah was already an hour late in picking her and Milo up, and she really wanted to go home and just hang out with Gran and read by candlelight. Still, she was happy to be helping out. She had just left Juniper and Chloe in the basement and had Milo with her in one of the pews in the sanctuary of the church when it happened. The sanctuary erupts with noise, chaos, and blood. 6 people with semi-automatic weapons and ski masks covering their faces attack the church and everyone inside. Milo and Quinn instinctively hit the ground. Quinn immediately starts protecting Milo. He tries to stand and she shoves him back down. Then she motions to him to stay quiet and follow her. They listen to the guns explode. She tells Milo, "This is like a game, and you win by not looking at anything." Then she says, "Either keep your eyes closed or keep them on me." They hear people protesting and then going silent with a gunshot. Quinn manages to get the two of them over to one of the dead bodies. Then she puts her hands in the person's blood and wipes it all over her face and Milo's and in their hair and wherever she can. Then she has them both lay down and Quinn says not to move. They listen as the gunmen discuss their plan. They need to find Bishop. Then one of them returns with Daphne, who is crying and begging them not to hurt her children. They tell her that they just need to know where the safe is, but she keeps saying she doesn't know anything about a safe. I hope you've all caught on to the fact that there is no gold. Whoever sent the junkies to the church made that up. Quinn realizes that she knows these voices. One of them is Ray for sure. And she can make out a couple of the Carter brothers too. She worries that Octavia's with them, but she hasn't heard her voice. She and Milo slowly make their way out of the chapel. Quinn knows that one of these guys is going to go around and shoot everyone in the head, so they need to get out of there. Daphne crying for the kids makes Quinn think of Chloe and Juniper, and she and Milo head down to the room in the basement where they like to play. At first, no one responds to Quinn, but then she finds the girls. She tells them to stay quiet, and when she hears one of the gunmen heading down into the hallway, they all hide behind the rack of costumes. Only when he comes in, the clothes are still slightly moving. He comes over and pulls out the girls. Milo jumps out and says, "Don't hurt them." So Quinn has to come out as well. And she does manage to get one bolt from her slingshot into the gunman's face, which is when she hears her mother's voice. "What's taking so long?" She tells the gunman that Ray wants the girls, but the gunman wants to kill Quinn. She convinces him that he needs to bring the girls to Ray, and he does. He takes the two girls up to the sanctuary. And also convinces him that he can't kill Milo because Milo is that cop's son and he could be a good bargaining tool, and please don't kill, Quinn, she's my kid. So she does convince him, and she's really self-satisfied with herself, but she's also clearly very high. And Quinn is just mad. So when her mom is a little distracted and talking to her, she attacks her mom, she knocks her out, and she takes her gun from her. Then Milo and Quinn hear 4 loud bangs, and Quinn tries not to think about what those bangs mean. At first, they aren't sure who it is that's coming out of the church, but they do know that they have an AK. So it's a good thing Noah yells, "No one shoot." At first, he's sure that Milo is hurt due to all of the blood, but Quinn assures him that she put it there so that they could pretend to be dead. Then he asks where the blood came from, and Quinn said, "The people." And Julian asks, "How many?" And Quinn answers, "All of them." Julian and Noah head inside and are horrified by what they find. There are no survivors. Children, whole families, everyone. The officers work their way through the building looking for survivors or perpetrators until they get to one of the storerooms and find a man with a ski mask slumped over. He jumps up when the men come in. Noah shoots him in the leg. "You shot me, you shot me." Julian then shoots him in the head. Noah is floored. They're cops. They don't do stuff like that. But the world is different. The world has changed. Julian says, "Did you not just see what we walked through? Do you not realize what this man did?" Then they hear a sound. And they find Bishop alive. And he is holding the dead bodies of his family, his wife and his 2 daughters, all dead. Noah sits with him for the next 6 hours. Bishop doesn't move. He can't. Noah understands the grief and stays with his friend. Eventually, he does speak. The 2 men talk about the church and how Bishop will not be leaving. This is his home, and he will continue to help his community. Then he tells Noah that he's going to bury his family. He'll soften the ground with a bonfire, and then he'll bury them. When Noah says he'll help Bishop, Bishop says no. He has to do it himself. Then he tells Noah to think about who is benefiting from something like this, because that's the person who is really responsible. Noah goes to the emergency council meeting. Rosamond is clearly upset, horrified. They all rally together, and everyone is just... Rosamond is nearly in tears, and she announces that 47 people died, and that 19 of them were children. She's so sorry. She admits that she should have done better. Sitting in the meeting with her is a man by the name of Sutter. Rosamond introduces him as her cousin and the leader of a militia wing willing to come to Falls Creek to help keep them safe. The cousin begins by agreeing that they do need extra help. Sutter tells them that they don't want to come in and take over, They are motivated by the fact that they're going to be given homes within Winter Haven where there is electricity. But really, they just want to be helpful. Noah stands up and supports the militia and Rosamond completely. All he can think of is Milo, who is nestled upstairs in one of Rosamond's heated bedrooms after he talked to a psychiatrist that Rosamond found. Noah just wants Milo taken care of, and so he will support the militia. Rosamond tells the council that the rest of the homes in Winter Haven will go to the council and their families. And the meeting concludes with applause for Rosamond. Knowing that Milo is snuggled safely in a warm bed at Rosamond, Quinn next to him, and the fact that he can't sleep causes him to take one of the ATVs back to the ski resort where he digs Brock and Quinn's grandfather out of the snow, puts them in body bags, and brings each of them home. And here is where the novel ends. Anyone else worried about Falls Creek and Noah? Because I am. If you're still here, thank you. I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up or a comment. Let me know what you thought about all of this. And if you don't want to miss the future uploads on the rest of the books in this series, make sure you subscribe, and that way you won't miss out. Okay, so since we're in the middle of a series, I'm going to give you a little spoiler. The next book includes everyone. So we've got Hannah, Liam, Ghost, Pike, and then all the Falls Creek people that we've met. So all of the people are covered in the next couple of books. Like they've all come together now. So there won't be any like, well, but what's happening with the other group of people? So I promise we'll be back to Hannah and Ghost and Liam, as well as Quinn, Noah, and Milo, and the whole Falls Creek and Bishop, and the whole Falls Creek neighborhood next time. So otherwise, do me a favor and take care of yourself. You are precious and important. I'll catch you next time. Bye. Milo is the most important thing in Milo's life, but I'm sorry. They continue to they